My name is Caitlin Davis, and this is my case study for Will Shoe You, prepared for motivational leadership theories. So, Will Shoe You is a retail shoe sales company. There's 5 stores in malls all around a metropolitan area with at least 2 competitors per location. So, it's a very high volume competitive market. They sell normal sizes and trendy styles, and their staff consists of part time workers, and unfortunately, there's a high turnover rate and multiple absences from their employees. So again, issues within the company. So there's a lot of competition with surrounding stores. So if the employees at Will Shoe You aren't living up to a certain expectation or aren't performing to the best of their ability, the odds are customers are going to want to go to these other competitors. So the employees are typically part-time and they see these jobs as temporary. So they don't plan on staying with the company for more than a few months, maybe a couple years, unfortunately a couple weeks, I'm sure, for some. So there's a really high turnover rate, which results in more need for hiring, and shorter staff, which results in sometimes overworked employees. Additionally, there's a high level of employee absences, so people aren't necessarily showing up to their shifts when they're supposed to. So how can we fix some of these issues? Possible solutions I've come up with are Locke's goal-setting theory, the intrinsic motivation theory by Daniel Pink, a participative decision-making strategy, as well as the self-determination theory. So we'll start with the goal-setting theory. Latham explains in the Work Motivation book that people need to achieve success in order to avoid failure. They want to feel themselves succeed, obviously, in order to feel as though they've failed. It really makes sense. So goal-setting theory explains that specific high goals lead to higher performance than no goals or abstract goals like do your best at completing this task. Variables include monetary incentives, participation in decision-making, which I'll touch on later, and feedback or knowledge of results that affect the individual's performance. So ultimately, in order to have a goal work, it needs to be clear, challenging to the employees, and ultimately they need to be committed to the goal. Sometimes the incentives will help on that front. They might be more committed if there is a monetary incentive at the end. Similar to commission, although I can't say that that's probably the best answer for Will Shoe You. Goal setting is constantly able to be adjusted and grow with the employee and or organization because personal and professional goals can both be set. There can be personal goals to grow as perhaps a salesman or an accountant, or to grow in your ability to stock shelves so that they look professional and neat. So having multiple goals and multiple needs for each individual to succeed might really push this team to be better and want to stick around with the company. Now, intrinsic motivation, as far as Daniel Pink explains, involves autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So treating people like people. I truly believe that if the negative idea of autonomy, of I don't have to show up for my shift today because I don't truly care about this business, were changed to I have a purpose at this place of business. My purpose is to show up to work and to do my best. Good things happen, better products come forward, there's a higher standard because I'm not the profit. I am not simply making money for this company. So once purpose is separated from profit, there's a lot more motivation to want to feel like part of the company. I honestly think that there's a negative sense of autonomy and perhaps encouraging more mastery as far as skills that interest each individual employee. Like I said, perhaps one's really interested in accounting. Another is interested in the window aesthetic. So when people window shop and walk by, they're really drawn to come in. So allowing each individual to kind of master a certain section will really benefit each individual and the entire company as a whole. That being said, participative decision-making is another really important factor that could help out this company. There's clearly a need for independence, but the company needs less resistance and more productivity. So the current authoritarian decision-making process, I think, is what encourages employees to care less. They want the opportunity to have a say in what's going on in the company rather than simply feeling like a cog in a machine. The feeling of care that relates back to goal-setting theory and self-determination theory, which is next, will really kind of relate back and allow them to feel the benefit of participation. So it's the cognitive understanding that you fit into the company rather than the actual motivation with an end reward. And finally, that leads to the self-determination theory. So more freedom within the company leads to personal empowerment, a higher sense of autonomy, and a higher interest in a task. This is because you allow people to have freedom and make personal choices within their work environment. So ultimately, you need more engagement than simply just listening to a task that needs to be accomplished. So if each individual can kind of make their own choices and decide what they're best at or what they're really interested in, even if they're not doing that for their whole shift, if they get to do it for a part of the shift, they'll be far more interested and they'll feel empowered. They'll feel as though they're mastering whatever piece of the puzzle of this organization that they really fit into, which also will kind of lead to a sense of autonomy. They're deciding that this is the part of the company that they best fit into. They're not just a cashier. The cashier has an opportunity to work in another section or to do something else that really interests them, and that will push them to be more motivated internally, having more self-determination. So in conclusion, I think by using these 4 methods, increasing input opportunities and allowing for more freedoms within the workplace will open up and make the workplace perhaps a little bit more fun, encourage a lighter environment. Bringing forward goals with perhaps incentives will encourage these short-term employees or the employees that don't work as often, who really see this job as temporary, to want to come in and to want to work harder. If their only motivation is money, then perhaps that's the route to go with. If their motivation is more resume building and understanding how the inner workings of a company rather than simply standing behind a cash register, allow those incentives or allow those goals to be met on an individual basis. And ultimately, this will lead to a more cohesive team and unit overall. And that would be my recommendation for the case study, Will Shoe You. Thank you.